Ryan Coogler is back with a brand new original movie that is a genre blend of the Wild Wild West, gangster period piece, but most importantly at the heart of it, it is a horror film with vampires. And all I can say is I left speechless and I found this film to be a masterpiece. What's going on, buddy? Welcome back to a brand new movie review. Today we're discussing Sinners. This is about two brothers who are trying to leave their troubled past behind. Smoke and Stack return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. This stars Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, Miles Canton, Jack O'Connell, Wunmi Masku, Elroy Lindo, and many, many more. And just right off the bat, I have been so excited for this film. I've really stayed away from a lot of the marketing, mostly just knowing the overall structure of what I just said. It's the Wild Wild West gangster period piece with vampires. I don't know how that all mixes together, but it's a supernatural film from Ryan Coogler, has directed amazing films such as Fruitvale Station, Creed, and of course the two Black Panther movies. And one of the most incredible things about this is technically his first original film. When you look at Fruitvale Station, that's based on a true story. When you look at Creed, that was already an IP already out there. And Black Panther, of course, is one of the most iconic comic book characters ever made. So you have in Sinners an original tours. So in Sinners, this is his original story from the ground up. Written, directed, produced. He did all of it. And it is hands down his best movie yet. Like, just as a reaction coming out of this, and you're going to find this review to be very rambled and ranty, but all in the greatest way because of how much I loved this movie. And this is the best way that I can state it is Sinners is the type of movie that reminds you of why you love going to the movies. This is not just a cinematic experience. It is one that will shoot an adrenaline into you and make you want to go watch more movies again. And it's so great to finally be having this movie, and I'm so excited to talk about this film today. So make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, comment down below your guys' thoughts. Make sure to buy tickets now. Like, if you weren't planning to see this movie, I know it's Easter weekend, but if you weren't planning to watch this movie or watch it this weekend, please buy tickets, then finish this review, and you'll be very happy that you've already paid that service fee to your local movie theater. That said, just starting off with my pros, let's get the performances out of the way as always. Michael B. Jordan is incredible. I think this is probably hands down my favorite performance of his, and he plays two different people. Twin brothers Smoke and Stack, and both to such a different degree that sometimes when you watch something with twins, there's this uncanny valley that you're like, it's cool what they're doing, but I don't know if I believe in this, and you instantly believe in it. And just from like mild mannerisms to just the way that they do their stride or their walk or their smile or their smirk, even if they were wearing the exact same clothes, you would be able to tell 110% which one is Smoke and which one is Stack. And I love that. And I think Jordan did such a great job bringing this character to life. One of the most memorable characters in his filmography yet. Haley Steinfeld as well, great as Mary. And that's the big thing, is that all these characters, no matter how big or small of screen time they have, the usage of building up these characters, their backstories, and all this stuff sorts in dialogue really add to the tension of it all. And Haley Steinfeld, on paper, you could say is a very surface level character, but her performance elevates that to such a other degree that I just loved. Miles Canton, I think, will be one of the biggest talked about stars from this movie, who plays Sammy Moore, the cousin to Smoke and Stack. He is phenomenal in here. He, in a way, is kind of the soul of this film, the soul that binds this entire film together. And in a lot of ways, the reason I have to say that is because there is a lot of musical elements in this film, ones that I was not anticipating. Maybe they showed it in the marketing, maybe they didn't. But music is a huge, huge factor in this film. And you'll hear me talk a little bit more about that when I talk about Ryan Coogler as the writer and director of this. But Miles is one of the biggest pieces that, again, holds that music together. And it's just impeccable what he was able to do here. But even from that, his performance is just emotional. And it's so damn good. O'Connell as well, so freaking scary, so awesome. Wunmi Masku, who I always mispronounce that name, I apologize. She plays Annie in here. Oof. Again, on the surface, could easily be a surface level character, but the way that she brings this about, the way that Ryan Coogler elevates this stuff in the directing power, when you get to the resolution of her entire storyline, what she's dealing with, man, it hit me like a train. It hit me like a train. Like, you think the story's over, and then it plays out just a little bit more, and you're like, damn, that hits hard. This goes on and on from there. The last one that really stood out to me was Delroy Lindo, who is just so good with comedic timing, but at the same time, dramatic timing. And I think in here, Lindo was just casted perfectly and elevated the material to a whole other level. Which brings me to Ryan Coogler, who his directing style here is just top notch. I think this is the film that finally showcases to me who he is as a director and less as how he is as a writer. This film's art style, its vibe, its vibrancy to everything cultural related, as well as just the tone on this Wild West tone. I genuinely, I could watch Ryan Coogler just make a Wild West movie and I'd be all in. But the fact that this, again, has that genre blend makes it feel so original and so impactful. But that impactful part that Ryan Coogler has here, I'll only be able to talk to a certain degree. There are people who are in this culture that will be able to extend to that to the next degree. And I'm excited to read and watch those reviews. Here's so many of my friends talk about this film because of what Ryan Coogler was able to, again, elevate in this material. And as I mentioned with Miles's character, music is a big key to this. In a way, you can kind of say that this is kind of a musical odyssey of some sorts, and what music can conjure up with evil. But also in the way that it kind of transcends generations, how music elevates, how music changes through time, and what music means to us. And to use that as a streamline through your vampire horror film could, in a way, deter so much. And there are things in here that in a less skilled director could be a smart idea, but executed in a terrible way. And the way that Ryan Coogler directed the hell out of a lot of these different scenes only added to the tension and sometimes even the scares. If you're even taking away not just from the scares, but it adds to the overall, again, tone of the film and making you really care about everyone involved. And that finally goes down to his writing, which, as I mentioned, some of the characters in here may feel a little bit surface level, but at the same point in time, the performances and the directing elevate those, and you could say that about a bunch of different movies. And for me, the writing in here was so skillfully mastered that, like, from the opening 5 minutes, you're locked. You want to see what occurs, what's going to happen. And as it goes on, if you didn't know that this was a horror film or that there were vampires in here, you would still be locked in. Because the film does take its time. The pacing is fantastic within the way that he writes all this and the way that you find out about each and every one of the characters' backstory, specifically Smoke and Stack, and just where they come from, what was going on with them, and what brings them back to this town, but also in this town, everyone that they're kind of catching back up with. It never feels cheap. It never feels fabricated. It all feels realistic in that department in terms of dialogue, in terms of ways that things play out, and the writing and directing is just great. It's a full circle thing here too, and all about also coincidence, luck, things like that. And I just found that his writing was immaculate. And again, plays throughout. Every little thing in here has a through line and all ends up in a perfect way, to the point that Ryan Coogler even put 2 end credit scenes in here that were not needed, but the way that they actually further out and finish out the story in terms of like an epilogue feels so perfect. And that is honestly one of the best usages of an end credit scene. So definitely stay after the credits for 2 post-credit scenes. I mentioned through a lot of this, the music is just high-key one of the biggest and strongest factors to that, and a lot of that goes to Ludwig, who delivers maybe top 3 scores of his entire career and top 10 scores of this entire decade. Genuinely enough, I was blown away from the electrifying masterpiece of what Ludwig created here within the score and the way that it elevated to all different styles. And speaking about the sound design, there are certain things in here and just certain cues that Ryan Coogler did not have to add in the back and post, but he did it, and it only adds to building up the tension and building up certain scenes. Vampires. Yes, I've barely talked about them, and this is one thing that I really do want to mention is first off, the usage, the lore, everything they do with vampires is so core and rock awesome that I loved it. It made me love vampires again. And there's been quite a few films this last decade that really have made me come to that, but Sinners is just that next level that again makes me go, fuck, man, vampires are awesome. Love the usage of the lore and how things are played out. And again, plays it into a very familiar way that even if you've only known a little bit about vampires, you're going to be able to get into this very easily. There's no special twist or turn on the vampires besides the musical part, but I really dug what they were able to do, and I think the usage of them, the gore, the prosthetics, the visually idea of them, like specifically with their eyes, is just trippy, freaky, and awesome. I found that the horror moments into that were really great, but this is one thing I do want to set an expectation on of Sinners. It's not guns out, supernatural action, guns being blown out all the way through the movie. This is a film that definitely takes its time. It's one that builds up these characters, builds up the world, builds up the scenario, and then just has this ticking, lingering time bomb. But all at the same time, as it's building up to these vampires and building up to the horror moments, you forget because you're so invested in these characters, in this world, that when this shit hits the fan, it's not like they're just going after like another gang or going to attack like a bunch of other random people. No, they have to survive one of the greatest evils in any sort of supernatural lore. And I love how this built up to that. But I want to set those expectations. This is very much a genre blend of so many different genres, but at its heart, it is a drama about culture, about music, and it is an odyssey through the wild, wild west during this exact time period. And I absolutely loved it. That's where it brings me to say that Sinners is an unforgettable cinematic odyssey, an experience that demands to be felt on the big screen, mesmerizing, intense, and electrifying. This is Ryan Coogler's true masterpiece. It's his best film and one of the decade's finest, and a film that will leave you absolutely speechless. I found this to be an instant classic. I think that will go down as one of the best vampire films and one of the best westerns, and also just one of those films that reminds you why you love the movies. And I could sit here, rant and ramble about how incredible Sinners is, from again the performances to the score to the art style to the vibes to the writing to the dialogue to the action to the culture to the music to the horror to the vampires. I could literally sit here for hours. This is again one of my favorite films of the decade. It's my favorite film of the year so far. This will absolutely be in my top 10 of the year. If it's not, that will be shocking. That will mean that we had one of the best years for filmmaking this year. But man, Sinners just blew off everything, any expectations I had, and I really hope that you've already bought your tickets for the film, because if you haven't, you should right now. So with all that said, I'm going to give Sinners an A+. If you do not see this film in theaters, I will be disappointed in you. So if you're watching this on streaming, or you just got done watching the film when it came to home video, just know I'm disappointed in you quite a bit, unless you had your own reasoning. All that said, guys, thank you so much again for watching this. Make sure to leave your thoughts down below, hit that like, subscribe button, and of course, until next time, stay classy.